Welcome to St Ives School of Painting's How-To series. Short lessons taken from our longer online courses, designed to help you build confidence and skills in drawing and painting, one focused exercise at a time.
So the first exercise I would like to try is taking one continuous line from one edge of your paper to the other end of the paper. So it's natural for me as a right-hander and, you know, in our European script to work from left to right, but you could equally work from right to left. It really doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is take one continuous line looking at my still life, and I'm going to start with the cactus, but on the right hand side of the cactus, so I haven't got too many little nodules to draw. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking one continuous outside edge line through this side of the cactus. Basically, my aim is, it's like a game where I've got to try and get to the other end of the paper, but I can only follow the line, the sort of natural path of the line. So I'm now up on the green jug, and there's its lip. And I'm coming down the green jug, and then I'm coming on to the handle of the mug, and obviously, and then I'm actually going onto the tabletop itself, and then up through, got a little sort of paper screen there at the edge of the table. So it's literally one line from the left hand side to the right hand side of my paper. Now I can then, let's do a quick another one of those, and so we can sort of get the idea of what we're doing. So you could start anywhere. So I'm also going to start, say, higher up on the page and lower down in the still life. So that's come along the butternut squash, and now up. I'm working bigger this time, up through the jug, through the lip of the jug. So you can really get an idea of what's happening here, and then out through the table. So you can zoom in like that and have a much bigger, simpler view of your complex arrangement. So what I'd like to do is take a look, please, at clip 1, and we'll have a look at doing that out in the landscape. So here we are in St Ives Harbour. Very luckily for us, looking nice and empty this day. And it's quite a complex scene. So by using this method, we can just focus on one aspect of it, which is simply a line that goes from one edge of the paper to the opposite far edge, far side. And what we're doing, like any drawing, is we're flattening the three-dimensional scene, which is complex, you know, especially a harbour, but even just a still life is really complicated. We're flattening it by taking one line. So it doesn't matter if, you know, things behind that you're following will be interrupted by something close by or in front of it, and your line will simply move from one thing to the next. You can see we've speeded the film up a little bit. You'll see people walking past as if they're in an old Charlie Chaplin film or something. So, so what we're doing, and I'm going to be doing it here with the still life as well, is once you've done one line, you can take another line, perhaps further down, closer to you. So I can do that in the still life as well in a moment. And of course, you can add as many of these lines as possible. So the space is gradually being built up even though we're just focusing on the abstract element of edge, which we express as line. And of course, edge is a thing that doesn't really exist. It's where one plane ends and another one begins. So that's why I think pencil is good rather than something thicker. And do notice that I'm holding the pencil right at the far end, which is very important. It's important to hold the pencil more as if one would hold a brush rather than a pen. Because when you hold a pen to write, you want small repetitive marks and consistency and a lot of control. When you're drawing, it's more like painting. You want the freedom of movement and to just relinquish a little bit of that control. And you'll get a much more dynamic and expressive and personal line as a result. If it feels a bit wobbly at first, don't worry about that at all. It probably will if you haven't held the pencil at the far end and taken your hand off the paper. But it's like taking stabilizers off a bicycle. You know, it feels horrendous at first, but you'll never get to ride the bike properly if you don't do it. And it quickly improves. And your drawing will improve so much, so quickly. Just like when somebody, if you ever played tennis or squash and somebody shows you how to hold the racket better, you know, it feels horrendous at first, but then your game quickly improves. So you can try this out in the landscape, with your still life on your table as we're working. While the film's playing, I'm just going to carry on drawing this still life. And I wouldn't worry about things lining up. That's not what's important. You know, that can become more important to you. You know, if it is important to you, you can, you know, focus more on that. I think at this stage with this exercise, the important thing is just to concentrate on that edge and not worry about the other things. They'll look after themselves. Really sort of to trust your observation and practice the fluidity of your line. And I'm even going to use some lovely shadows that are on this table. So anything can become part of that line. It could be, you know, real physical form and mass. It could be just shadow, could be reflection. And, you know, whatever is in your visual field. Okay, so that's going from one side to the other. The next thing I want to try is looking at a single shape of an object or of a group of objects, or indeed of a negative space between objects. So it's the same type of line in a way, but instead of going from edge to edge, we're literally just going to look around that outside edge of the object. So first of all, looking at my still life here, I've got a pear lying on the table. And I'm just going to draw around its shape. And, you know, you could apply this to absolutely anything. And if you draw around it, the end of the line will meet the beginning of the line. I can try this mug now. It's an incredibly relaxing and sort of therapeutic thing to do. So I must remember, you know, that we're talking in a webinar and get not too involved in the drawings. So you could also do the spaces in between. So I'm drawing the space now, looking through the looking through the handle of the mug. Try to keep your pencil on the page and not do what I just did and take it off again. So it always meets its end. And even, you know, there's this lovely ellipse. And actually with this ellipse, I'm going to use the fact that the glaze, that lovely brown glaze, doesn't go right up to the rim. So the ellipse itself is not quite as you would expect. It has a slightly different shape. You could also find spaces that are cut by different objects together. So now I'm going to go for a more tricky one between the apple and the pear and those seed pods, which are wisteria, if you're interested. So I'm going to go the other way as well. It's best not to get too into repetitive habits. So that's the underneath of the pear, then I'm coming along the top of that seed pod, then there's another seed pod crossing it, and then just the underneath of the apple there. So that's that space, and gradually you can build things up. So if we could please look at another clip, let's have a look at doing that in the harbour. Please, Will. And then we've got some, so here I'm drawing around a boat that is just sitting there on the sand. It was a lovely low tide that day, so lots of boats lying on the sand and people walking around. Ideal subjects to draw around the outside edge of. And you find, you can just fill your sketchbook or a page with floating shapes, whatever takes your eye. So people are great fun to draw in this way, and we've speeded up the camera a bit. I am anyway trying to draw fast because these people are moving, walking along or standing, hopefully for a moment. But we have speeded things up, as you can see, so that even when you're drawing fast, it looks very slow when you're watching on screen. And we want to I've packed lots in this morning. So it's a really useful way of drawing people from a distance. So when you're waiting for a train, or, you're out, perhaps you're sitting on the beach, or you're people watching somewhere, maybe sitting having a coffee. It's a lovely thing to do in the pub. You draw people just at a bit of a distance. I don't know what else I'm going to draw. See what happens. So maybe I think, I know, but yeah, exactly. Is it a bird? Is it a plane? I think it's a space. So with these exercises, you don't always recognize what the thing is. I mean, this is a funny looking dog. I think it wasn't really a funny looking dog. It was just the dog that was walking along, so I had to be very quick. But that's a very funny looking dog. So, okay. So, apply this method to all kinds of things, and you'll find that it gives you the most amazing increased control over your drawing, which, and increasing the control, I know sounds like a bit of a ironic thing to ask for when we're trying to relinquish that control and work more quickly and freely. But in a way, it's by being able to do that you become in charge of that. So you don't have so many off days, or, you're not, it's easier to get in the zone. And being creative is all about being able to get into the zone. So here, in the ellipse of that jug, I'm just putting the light where the light is hitting. There's a lovely bright light, I think, coming from the technical equipment, really, rather than the lovely north light in the studio. So you can draw around all kinds of things, and it will really increase your looking and your hand-eye coordination and your physical, I think, as well as perceptual skills in drawing. And we're going to never do enough of it.
Want more tips, tricks and inspiration? Each of the short lessons are taken from one of our full courses in our extensive online library. We have over 100 courses available for you to watch on demand. Visit our website to find out more, and hit subscribe for more creative inspiration.